Content warnings. This episode contains discussions of transphobia, alcoholism, drug use, homophobia, abuse of the elderly, zoophilia, religious discrimination, American politics, imperialism, ableism, and pedophilia.
Hello everybody to everyone's favorite podcast with the random European queer people talk about the Wikipedia Twin Movies list. I'm
Hey Alice.
Yeah.
California, California, here we come. Oh.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, let me introduce you to everyone to my special guest. This is Flea from the Wet Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes, that's totally who did that song.
No, but they love California.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
They have like 5 songs about it. I'm Ludovico. I hope y'all are ready for today's movies.
Yeah, it's like the SpongeBob meme. I'm ready, you are Ellie.
We got 2 movies about getting into a university, about getting into a renovated, famous university. One is called Orange County, and the other one is called Stealing Harvard. How did you enjoy these movies?
Okay, I'll say for Orange County was surprisingly decent. The best way to summarize it is like it's a very good like episode of an MTV or just 2000s like American like comedy drama. It's a very good like episode of like Dahlia or something like that. It's extremely solid. It's like nothing very special like some other writers there, but it's very funny. It's enjoyable. Has like some good performances. Stealing Harvard was awful. It's just a very awful like garbage kind of Edward at moments 2000s comedy.
No notes. I agree with both these sentiments. So before we get into the thick of it, let's talk about our past month, what we were doing.
Yeah.
Alice, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I've been doing some work. So I've been going to the city. I went to my city's like woman festival because they have like a woman festival where people like sell replica swords and cosplay as the womans, which is perfect. Went to also a local festival a couple of days ago where like they just I saw like a bunch of bootleg Sonics. There was like a cat racing thing that had like Fast and the Furious. People were saying like emo Elsa t-shirts, which is also great. Very perfect. Besides like the local culture, I've been watching some stuff. I've been rewatching. Because of a podcast I follow, we watching Digimon Tamers. This is a very good show. Probably my favorite Digimon season. It's very good. Watch a bunch of movies, of course. Just going to the moment, I watched with Ludo a couple of days ago Spartacus. This is actually a very good like historical piece. This is surprisingly good. I've been watching Strange New Worlds, which is the new Star Trek show, which has been pretty fun. Very much like one of my favorite like live action Star Trek show recently. The last episode, the second to last episode that recently came out was gets like a transsexual and is also directed by a trans person, and it's surprisingly very good for like a big version American. So yeah, I've been having fun with that, and I've been playing Neon Demon, which is a surprisingly pretty decent game. The writing is whatever, but the gameplay is like very much like Sonic parkour, like puzzle with cards, and it's been very fun. I think that's it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. I also had a good last month. I did me some hiking as always, looking at them castles, looking at what the Swiss did to the Mennonites, it wasn't good. Spoilers.
Wow! European,
Spoilers.
European countries doing bad things? Wow!
Yeah. Guess we never learned some things. uh, but it was very interesting. Then I started reading a comic, which is very unusual for me. I'm reading Swamp Thing right now, the Alan Moore run, and that's pretty interesting. Like seeing his takes on America. That's pretty fascinating.
Which point of the comic are you now?
I think I'm getting to the point where they like resolved the yikes plot about the brujas.
Oh yeah.
Like they're fighting some South American evil witches. Yeah. I don't know about that part. It's like Alan Moore kind of going off base, because like some other issues are very on point. This one is more like, I guess they gotta have some kind of escalation, so they had to invent some kind of evil South American witches.
Yeah, it's still a comic written in the 80s by a British writer.
Yeah. It had its issues, but it's also I can recommend it if you're like into the macabre and into Alan Moore's writing in general.
Yeah.
And yeah, I watched a bunch of movies. A lot of interesting stuff this month. We watched a lot of period pieces. There was good stuff in there. Watched a bunch of LGBT movies. I can recommend everybody watch Debs. That movie is hilarious.
If you ever want like a basically what if Spy Kids but slightly more adult and with lesbians, Debs is a very good pick for that. Extremely solid movie.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Do we go to the next segment?
Yeah, let's start comparing and contrasting Orange County and Stealing Harvard. Okay, let's talk about the cast of these two movies. So in Orange County, the cast is actually pretty impressive. If you haven't watched the movie yet, there's the son of Tom Hanks, Colin Hanks. We got Jack Black. We got Mike White and Catherine O'Hara, which I learned from interviews is like pretty famous for doing roles like that, where she's like a wine mom. We also got like John Lithgow and Timmy Tomlin. This movie doesn't have that big a budget, but it's like stacked. There's also like a cameo from I think what is he called? The guy from Comedy.
The guy from Comedy who?
The guy from Comedies.
I know who you're talking about, brother.
The guy from the Bad Fashion Comedy.
It's not Zhang Letko. It's Howard Ramis, right?
No. It's actually super obvious. I'm just blanking out right now because it's not on the
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, yeah, he's not on this cast list, but he has a cameo in that movie, and it's actually pretty decent because like he's only there for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, the Ben Stiller part of this is we'll talk about this later, but it's probably like the best Ben Stiller thing because it's just like 1 minute.
Yeah, and he doesn't get to go totally wild. He's just like a fireman in one scene.
Yeah, just a quick thing. Mike White is the writer of this. As a friend of Zach Black, who wrote and directed School of Rock, not directed, as the word School of Rock. And as this fun fact, this movie is the reason why Zach Black is in School of Rock.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating. Like that person is fascinating to me because his dad wrote right-wing speeches.
Yeah.
His dad was a pastor who wrote right-wing speeches, and his son is bisexual screenwriter for like Californian movies, and Jack Black.
Who's best friend with Jack Black, it seems, also.
Yeah. So he did the turnaround for the family. That's good.
yeah, that's really good.
Fascinating cast here. Like, I don't know how they got all these people involved, but it's very good.
There's like a bunch of comedy people, a bunch of California icons and everything. We should probably also mention the cast for Stealing Harvard.
Yeah, let's go to Stealing Harvard because we have to, not because we want to. There's comedy icon Tom Green in there. I think his last major movie role before everybody realized it was a bad idea.
Yeah, the other big person we have is Jason Lee from My Name is Zola, and like a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, the Kids in the Hole guy. I guess Dennis Farina can be mentioned, and John McGinley, who is Dr. Cox in Scrubs.
Yeah.
He plays the same character basically, just as a detective.
Isn't that basically all his roles though? Isn't he just always the Scrub guy at this point?
I guess so. I didn't see him in too many things, but he apparently just always plays like a belligerent asshole guy who's totally cynical.
Yeah, and besides that, we mostly have like a couple. Like the only other person besides Jason Lee and Tom Green is like Bruce. I cannot pronounce McCulloch, which is
Bruce McCulloch.
Yeah, the director, which is the director of this movie, who is like one of the kids in the hall from Kid in the Hall.
Right.
He has a small cameo.
The cast in this, I guess there's some real miscastings. I guess I'm talking about Tom Green here. The rest is just serviceable. Like, nobody does a terrible job, but they're also not like exceptional.
Yeah. Just a quick thing. I mentioned one of the people in this that I think plays a mobster is one of the main characters in Manhunter, which is the Michael Mann adaptation of Red Dragon, I think. One of the Hannibal actors stories.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. He's like in a bunch of cop shows. He's also like one of the he was one of the protagonists of like Law and Order, etc.
Okay.
Dennis Farina.
Which I know from memes. I only know him for like, I think I know him from one Monster Factory video. That's basically my knowledge of him.
But let's compare the casters, I guess. I'll talk about them more in general.
I mean, I think there's not much to say here except that like one has a very good cast and one had like an average cast.
Yeah. Like I cannot really compare this a lot because like the thing is, we when we talk about specific actors, we talk about in the actor sections. We cannot really say a lot besides because Orange County has like a surprisingly stacked cast of like comedians, funny people. Like a lot of like Hollywood people and everything, a lot of the usuals, but that's just some surprises. And like Stealing Harvard, it's just here's some people you barely know because this was like shot in the budget because no one basically wanted to make this.
My notes here are mostly like that in Orange County, Jack Black really ties the room together.
Yeah.
Like he really sells that movie for me. Even like the plot itself is pretty good. We're going to get to that, but if Jack Black wasn't in it, I wouldn't have been that impressed.
Yeah, like I think Jack Black. I think talking about specific casting, like I think Jack Black's is just Jack Black in this. He's very much like himself, playing like a lovable, like kind of faith guy, and he's very good at playing like lovable either people think it had to go with faith people. He's just very much good at playing those type of characters, and you can see like. He just has like that Jack Black charm of managing to make like the lines funny.
Yeah, he's very energetic and like obsessive. He's playing that like slacker dropout brother very well.
Yeah, he plays that and plays other cast. And like the rest of the cast is also very solid, but in specific in like how they do the plot and the acting really well.
Yeah,
It's
they're well cast. Like they fit the roles they play.
yeah, like Arthur Catter's feel very much, and like even just like the bit parts. There's a lot of bit parts and doesn't who gets cast and etc. That they do very well for like the one or two scenes they are in. So it's very good. Still have the only thing I can say is Tom Quinn is a nightmare.
That's actually my only note here. Is Tom Green is unbearable.
No, because Tom Green, we'll probably not have to talk about this. We'll talk about the production because then we'll talk more about Tom Green. But just I'll say this for when we talk about how the production of the movies. Tom Green's just playing Tom Green in this, and he's horrible. He has like a couple funny jokes, but it's weird because the movie is not a Tom Green movie, so it's just Tom Green doing his stick and not the wise normal movie because it's directed by somebody with a different comedy style in him.
Yeah, everybody is acting like they're normal people in a comedy movie, like slightly over the top. And then Tom Green is just acting like he's doing a stand-up where he's trying to troll the audience.
Yeah, it's fucking darling. He's like been miscast, and knowing the reasons why he was cast in this at all, it's I'm gonna get more into this, but yeah, I can say that the cast, in like honest, can't do very much well. If like they sub in their parts well, like the like Tom Hanks' son is very much like cool as the protagonist. I think this is like a bit much. It's just a solid acted movie. I can't really say more about the cast because it just feels solid. And like that in City Harbor, it's just Tom Green being a nightmare, and then anyone else is doing like a fine job.
Okay, let's go to the plot. So Orange County has a pretty good script. It's a coming of age story that is about like your hometown and the struggle of wanting to be an artist. And that's like things that are pretty relatable to a lot of people, I think. Like a lot of creative people have a connection to their hometown, like where they grew up in general. And
Yeah.
a lot of people know the struggle of like your family not understanding that you want to be creative with your career. So I think it's like a good story.
Yeah, it's interesting because like they even just tied a lot in terms of metaphors, just mentioning little things like James Joyce becomes like a talking becomes like gets mentioned a bit of a couple of times, and he's like famous as somebody that moved from country several times, and specifically a lot about things of like, do you want to like it's specifically a lot of stuff about do you want to like get big and go to a fancy place to get your art recognized? Do you want just to make it's just do you want to make art that is local, that feels very much to the place you grew up, and do you want to make it there even if it won't be big? What
Yeah,
matters most?
yeah. I'm gonna get into this in the teams, but there's like a nurture over nature thing there, like that your environment does influence who you are as an artist.
Yeah, like somebody that makes art, like somebody that makes art, like just makes content. People listening to the podcast probably know I'm very much like constant and speak openly about where I'm from, but my country and the place I live, in the city I live in. And like as somebody that does that, talks a lot of makes art, makes content, yes, and talks a lot about the places I am. It's something that speaks to me in terms of like in terms of those feelings of like of like would I be recognized for making stuff that's like feels very much like from the place I go in, inspired by the people I know. Like would I get more if I just I don't know move to like New York or whatever? You understand?
Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's stealing Harvard.
It's not the plot. It's like for a comedy bits just together. It's very so.
Yeah, a very overdone premise. Like the basic premise of this movie is a movie I saw, like a story that I have seen 20 times before, at least. I'm summarizing it as people need X money until X date because of promise or like some kind of urgency. And like this is
Yeah.
such an overdone like framing device.
even like, so here's the thing, even like in terms of like, I guess, American satire or satire about America, because this movie vaguely waves into being a satire of like how American college and like America's a nightmare. Even like that, there's been a lot of movies by Americans and not Americans about, oh no, American healthcare, education, whatever, is a nightmare. We need to get some money. What hijinks ensues. In
Yeah,
reality,
there's a lot of hijinks ensuing in this movie, and it's not funny hijinks. It's just either very repetitive or repetitive and transphobic.
yeah, like let's talk about this for a second. Like the director is like I mentioned, is from the Kid in the Horror, and like you can notice that this is I haven't seen. I know he has done like Fallout or five other movies, but you can very much notice that this is like somebody that's very much like worked from the sketch comedy format because the movie's just a bunch of sketches put together. He also did Brain Candy, which is one of the Kid in the Horror movie, which has a similar thing of like it technically has a connecting plot, but it's just sketch about of the sketches of the sketch. But with Plain Candy, those connect. Whereas this is just a thing happens, they fail to get the money, they try again, it fails, they try again, it fails, plot resolved by transphobia.
Yeah, it's very weird how they resolve the plot in this because it really feels like they didn't know how to resolve the plot, so they just do a transphobic subplot that like ends with a judge getting blackmailed, and then they win a horse race, and that's where like my mind just exploded because they somehow try to tie this into fate, and you're gonna get what you earn, what you
Yeah,
deserve. It's very much like for a movie that's trying to be critical of America, it sure embraces the American dream in like a very weird way. Like you're not gonna work for it; you're just gonna lock into it, which I guess might be the joke. But it's not good. It's like
yeah,
from a plot structure, it's not a good resolving of the tension.
yeah. Like this movie, like tries to basically like we talk more about themes, but can we just do you want to talk now about the transphobia or talk about that later?
Uh, I mean, we can go into we can get granular with the transphobia if you want to, but that's your decision.
I think we're gonna talk about it because I think it's important to talk about this. And I think,
Okay, should I describe what kind of
yeah,
happens in my like process of like
yeah,
getting
yeah.
more and more pissed off?
Yeah, explain it. Don't forget to put the content warning for transphobia and the start when you
Yeah,
edit the podcast, of course.
yeah, no worries there. So it starts out with basically a guy in a dress joke in a weird, like he's basically doing sex work, but he's doing sex work with like some judge who has a very specific fantasy where he wants men to dress up in the clothes of his wife and then talk to them while they're in bed together and like spooning, and he also has a gun. That's part of the fantasy for some reason. I guess maybe the implication is that he killed his wife or something. I don't know. And then at the end, he takes photos of them together with the guy in the dress, which becomes a plot point later. So the first time this came up, I was like, okay, if you play devil's advocate, you could say this is like tangentially transphobic, but not directly transphobic because like at no point they say like this is a trans person, right? But then they do the joke 3 times, and then the later the wife finds out about the main character doing that, and uses a bunch of terms that can be they're pretty transphobic. And then at the end, the plot resolves by blackmailing the judge with those pictures, which is like hell yeah, institution cultural transphobia that like they use as a power play,
It's very
and
much
that's
like
where it just becomes like wow, this is just bleak.
It's, I'll be honest, it's very much like in the line of like queer transphobia and just queerness in general, it's like a form of deviance. Because they
Yeah,
literally try like the weird guys like fetish to like kind of sexual assault fantasies are. So it's very much like it's vile. It's formed in this idea of like this stereotype, of course, of trans people, like queer people in general, people who dress and look and are different from like the established norm of being like, oh, those deviants, weirdos, we must love them. So they're dangerous. So we literally blackmail them as a funny thing to do.
yeah.
This
Like
is
part of the joke here is the guy pointing out that he's not gay, and like the implication being that being with a trans person makes you gay, and also being with a trans person is like deviant, as you
with
said.
like this is just the code to 2000s no, I'm not even say 2000 American comedy, but that's just Canadian comedy. This is just the code of 2000s comedy, at least in the West. This is just funny trans person deviance. I'm being turned gay because I had sex with a woman with a dick. Ha ha! Funny.
Yeah, yeah. It's extremely. Not only do they do it, they run it into the ground, which makes it worse.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month, everybody. We picked the right movies for this month, for
Yeah,
sure.
we just need to look back at the mistake that was the 2000s. We need
Like
to
in
look at
contrast, Orange County does have like a subplot of the two friends of the main character being like in denial about their homosexuality. But first off, it's handled way better, and
yeah,
second off, it's written by a bisexual guy. So
yeah,
like, it's not a cis hetero person just making fun.
yeah. And like there's a
It's
scene
more
like
pointing out certain cultural like hang-ups of America.
yeah, like there's a scene where like it's kind of there's a scene where like now knowing about the writers like there, it makes me think because there's a scene like the protagonist goes like to I think his dad. And he's like basically going, "Oh, you better not be gay" and stuff like that. And it's very much clearly parodying a certain style of like homophobic weirdo and like just big weirdo in general.
Yeah. So yeah, we got that over with. Let's go to the teams.
Yeah, this is the most juicy part for this. Let's go.
Okay, the teams. So the teams in Orange County are family, upper middle class struggles, coming
Yeah,
of age, and as I said, nurture over nature.
yeah.
Because like
The
the way the main character gets involved in writing is by finding a book buried in the sand that basically inspires him to become a writer because he realizes like the potential of writing.
yeah,
And before that, he's basically just a surfer dude.
yeah, it was a story of like finding the potential of like art, what you want to do, what your work as a creative do. It is very much like kind of very much like middle class and like still very much like a white American middle class version of it. But I've seen worse, and I think this at least is kind of reflects us in knowing that it's kind of like a people's take on that still. The story is partly about that.
Yeah, I think the writer said that it's like partially autobiographical. So it makes sense that he would like talk about the community and an experience that like he comes from.
Yeah, and like I said with the teams, I think it plays and like they make fun of a lot of like California West people a lot. The movie's partly about that, specifically the theme of some like just the kind of elitism and snobbish of like a lot of the elites of like universities, culture, etc. And seeing what's like
Yeah.
yeah.
They're basically portraying upper class white people as highly dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny, but we're gonna get there in the comedy bit, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like it's very much like in the scale of like teen dramas, American stuff, like I think this is very good at like being reflexive about that stuff, and also like being very much as a personal kind of very sweet. There's like a scene where the protagonist talks to, like an old writer dude, and they talk about the power of art, and it's very sweet and nice. It's very much like
Yeah,
a thing about your art has value no matter who says it's not. Your art, the people you met, the dreams, the things. There's a lot of scenes about the protagonist just like looking back at like his sort of friends or like people that he knows and going about if he loves that life. Whereas doing writing, and the movie goes, of course you can be very much into like surfing and like still very much be into art and the communities and people you know. It's
yeah. You don't have to go to some like famous place or uh, go to college and all that shit to become an artist. It's like part of the message.
yeah, like I think it's very much I was probably not talk about this about the comedy part. But, like it's for like a 2000s comedy. It's very much like it's very much like sweet movie. Surprisingly, it has like a kind of sweetness, energy, like honestness honestness to it. That's kind of like refreshing for the era. Even more
Yeah, you
themes.
don't see a lot of college related comedies from that era that like actually have a heart.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's good. And do you have anything to say on the teams, or do you want to talk about the teams of Sydney Harbour?
This team in stealing Harvard is fate's gonna work it out.
Funny Americans, I guess. That's also a team, I guess.
Yeah, the white trash, aren't they hilarious? Poor people.
America is a nightmare, unlike noted good country Canada.
Crime doesn't pay. Like
Canada
that's kind of a
never
thing
does.
that I noticed. Like they try to do crimes and it just doesn't work.
I guess I really don't know if that's like I guess that's because like with this movie I don't know what's a team, what's a gag, what's whatever because it's so nothing.
Yeah,
But
it's
like
kind of empty.
I guess you can say like they do a bunch of crimes and a bunch of shit and it never works. And you can read that as like crime never working on like the incapacity of like you can put like this is actually about the cycle of poverty and how even if you do crime you're never gonna get the money because something I don't know. This movie's not good. This movie's
That's
not good.
that's like the generous reading because at the end everything resolves and it's just fine. Like they don't get into prison. They get the money for the. I think it's he's like the uncle of some girl, and she wants to go to Harvard, and that's why they need the money.
Yeah.
And that resolves fine, and then he gets married, and everybody's happy. It's weird wish fulfillment that like I think the movie would have almost been better if it ended with everybody miserable, but that's mostly because the characters are so unlikable.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I can really draw from the movie, it's like very much like I need to look if this was after or before Idiocracy, but it's very much that state of like both within American media and outside of American media, at least in Western countries, it's very much like a thing of like, haha, America's so fucked up because of the poor people, and just that's
And they're not smart.
yeah, they're not smart. That's it. The only issue with the world's biggest empire is not enough smart people. Thank you for
Yeah.
your serious commentary.
Which is, by the way, like the stereotype of Americans here.
Yeah.
Like everybody is like, wow, these Americans, they sure are not smart. Which kinda is missing the point.
It's not imperialism. It's not actual war crimes. It's not systematic abuse. It's IQ. No,
Yes, they're just not smart enough. That's why they're not figuring it out.
It's not a systematic, even just the technical college part of this. It's not like a systematic privatization of higher education. It's just okay. They don't have the money, but if they were smart enough, they could get the money and like.
If only they bet on the right horse race. That's all you have to do to get out of poverty. Just bet on horses.
This is like try to sound more like 2000s comedy. It's like the thing like Honest Country is a very nice movie that has like themes, ideas, concrete like inspiration of biopic art on the power of art, emotion, where are you from, the community, the connections you there, and then Steamy Harvard, and then basically 99% of the self comedies is just funny poor people.
Orange County is a story somebody wanted to tell, and like they had it in them, this story, and they needed to express it. Stealing Harvard is the desperate attempt of a bunch of people to try to do a movie and failing.
Are you gonna do the context for this movie this time? For the movies this time, or like no this time? Are you gonna do the productions segment?
Right, we didn't take y'all to 2002, but I think most people were alive for 2002.
We don't need the segment, so I can talk about the things here.
Also, like we talked about the 2000s last time, so people like kind of have the idea.
No, I'm talking about the production of the movies and how the movies
Yeah. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Real quick here.
Yeah, so to mention, we talked about this in the comedy segment. I'll let the Tom Green stuff go to the comedy segment. But I'll just go there. So, from what I understand, Sitting Harvard looks, you can verify anything about this movie. With Sitting Harvard, like the director, one of the Kids in the Heart people, just couldn't find projects. So they signed like Tom Green, who this movie came out after Freddy got fingered, but it seemed to be in pre-production before Freddy got fingered released because he got signed when Tom Green was still a star, and you can very much feel this is just a positive. Okay, I need to get some money, so I direct this project with this somewhat famous comedy guy. And you can just see how like this movie has no energy or anything.
Yeah, there's an interview we're gonna link in the sources where the director says that there's a lot he would do different with this movie.
Yeah, it's like looking up. They needed like a studio comedy. They got some comedy people. They got some Canadian comedy people. So they shot this kind of low budget movie. They put it out and nothing else. There was big attempts at teams and communicating about America, I guess, but there's nothing like if you look at like the stuff behind Honest Country, this was the thing that the writer director wanted to do. This was something they had the connections to. The writer had the connections with Sam Clark. This was actual a product of actor compared to just a 2000 studio comedy they put out for cheap.
Yeah, that completely ended those people's careers for the most part.
Yeah, okay. Do you have anything else to say in the teams?
No, let's go to cultural relevance. Orange County feels very of its time, but the themes are timeless.
Yeah, like the thing is, if you look back, I look for the one research for this, you can find still a bunch of articles about remember Honest Country 20 years after, etc., etc. Because it seems like this got the fan base. I think it's one in a couple of streaming services, and people seem to like it still. Like people remember this movie, people talk about this movie because it's a funny Zack Black comedy.
Yeah, and people can relate to the ideas presented there, even nowadays.
And like, an interesting part was this. This was before the OC. This was before other things. I think I found an article that seemed to indicate this. There's a song in this that may have inspired the theme song from the OC. But yeah, this was before that era of like California, like souls, like teen souls, and you could feel very much like even if this didn't inspire them, it was very much fit a lot in the model of those, and you can see like how those shows would become, and like how this how some people who are nostalgic for the shows like this, and like just in general people remember this and like them. I genuinely cannot find any look back at Stealing Harvard besides interviews of Tom Green or the director going, yeah, this was a mistake.
Yeah. That's why the cultural relevance of Stealing Harvard is nothing. Like, there's nothing here. I guess, like, even the white trash premise was done better after that.
Like, even if you want like like a Canadian version of white trash, is like it's one of the people turn out to be an ass, to turn out to be a horrible person. But like, there's like the Trailer Park Boys, or like a million other like Canadian comedies from the time also.
The director actually directed later a few episodes of Trailer Park Boys.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It's like if you want like white trash, like that type of like rural comedy, like pop American like white lower class comedies. It's like you can find actually good work by people who like were actually poor and like lower class and stuff like that. That is not funny poor people or funny Americans or whatever. That actually has nuance and characters and emotions.
Yeah, they're like way out of their depth here, and so they just do a bunch of stereotypes. Yeah, I think that section is pretty short.
Yeah.
Let's go to cinematography, which also there's not too much to chew on because these are both very both very by the books in their cinematography.
Yeah, like the thing with comedies, I'll say this, specifically more like American, at least the Canadian comedies I've seen, comedies don't tend to focus a lot on cinematography, specifically 2000 because a lot of them were very cheap and mostly like easy to make because you could put them very much fast out, and like you're not like most of the time you're not in a comedy, at least a 2005 comedy. They're like very talky movies. You're not here for the cinematography. The only thing I can say about Orange County is like it looks very much like an MTV TV show. It looks like a teen TV show from that era.
Yeah. I think it's dynamic, kinda. The Orange County cinematography. Like, there's some good shots of like the parts where there's like movement, and the editing also is snappy when it comes to like comedic impact. Like the cinematography and the editing supports that, the comedic bits.
Yeah.
In Stealing Harvard, like the cinematography didn't actively annoy me or make me hate it, which is good. It's just serviceable. There's like nothing that like caught my eye there.
Yeah, the cinematography for Orange County was the cinematographer was Greg Garner, did the cinematography for Elf, Men in Black 2, that Hobie movie with Jennifer Lizzie Lohan, Son of the Mask, the classic.
I would say the cinematography in Son of the Mask is actually sometimes pretty good.
Yeah, like
because it's so wacky.
Yeah, the cinematography, the cinematographer. Oh yeah, I mentioned this. The cinematographer for Stealing Harvard is Uri Stig. He's Swedish. This person's Swedish. Uri Stegel.
Yeah.
So who did the bunch of Wallenheim movies, like The Day After, the American Godzilla, Austin Powers. What are the Austin Powers movies? Other classics.
It's weird because like those movies all have like a certain impactfulness in their cinematography, and it's just not here. But I think it's the result of there being nothing to make impactful, except maybe the horse race. I think there's like some close-ups of the horses. I think that's the only thing I remember being like in any sort like dynamic or impactful.
Like, it's just limited by being like a very low budget comedy. It's you're not here for the cinematography at all.
Totally.
Like, so there's not really a lot to say. I think you can really move her.
Yeah, let's go to the parts that I'm looking forward to. Let's go to the music, to the soundtrack.
To those funky tunes.
I'm just gonna like read you off a sample size from the Orange County soundtrack, and then tell me if this isn't the like most 2000s thing you've ever heard.
Okay.
So we got The Offspring, we got Story of My Life by Social Distortion, we got The One by Foo Fighters, we got Cake, we got Butterfly by Crazy Town, which is used in a way that is like meaningful. This movie made this song meaningful in the plot of the story. It's so amazing.
They make fucking Crazy Town work. They made Butterfly work.
They made it work. And they play it 3 times and it's amazing. Lay Down Burden by Brian Wilson, which is like a sad song, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson, Love Mercy, also sad. We got Zebrahead, which nobody remembers that didn't live in the 2000s.
Wow, correct thing. You probably, if you're a Sonic head like me, you probably know Zebrahead because they did a remix of one of the songs from Sonic 06 for some reason, where they rap over it. It's very good.
Yeah, and I think Phantom Planet California is the song that is in OC California, if I remember correctly.
I think it is.
And that's the credits song, which blew me away. Because, like, holy shit, that was before the OC was out.
The OC stole it. You heard it here, they stole it.
Yeah, they totally watched that movie and thought, yeah, this is it. This is an incredible soundtrack. Like, this soundtrack actually charted pretty high in the billboards. And I understand why. Like, this is a good mixtape.
Yeah, it's surprising because you have like your pop punk. It's very much like Californian actually, because you have like your Offsprings, your pop punks, your new metal like Crazy Town, Brian Wilson, who from the Pet Shop, the Beast Boys, not Pet Shop Boys, the Beast Boys, who are from California. It's very much like here's a bunch of people who like are famous or popular in California, are from there, and also like very much like a good diversity of genre and tones for every scene.
Yeah, it's well curated. In contrast, the Stealing Harvard soundtrack is mostly forgettable. I think there's like a cover of a Sinatra song. There's a bunch of stuff that's apparently from Def Island Jam, the Island Def Jam music group. But I couldn't tell you a single song like from memory that played on that.
There's the theme song from SWAT. I don't know what that is, but it's here. There's like just a bunch of the most famous artist is Andy WK, who Patty Hart is in the soundtrack.
Yeah. So yeah, there's not much to chew on this one. I don't think it charted like the other one. It's just like the rest of this movie. It's not very memorable.
So if you are Canadian, you'll be happy though. There was a Bare Naked Lady song. Canadian icons. Right.
I think Prez actually likes that song.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're Canadian and like the Bare Naked Ladies, masters of the Big Bang theme song, the Big Bang theme song. There's that.
Okay, let's get to the last segment, I think. Or do you have something to say about the music?
No, I think the music is like I like how in Orange County they use the music. It's very much like they know how to use the tone. They know there's a specific thematic. ways how they use the song, like the way they use the Crazy Town song. I also like how they still handle like they play like the Brian Wilson songs that will play like with near the weirdest people, the Crazy Town, the pop punk like play the surfers and like the college people, etc. etc.
Yeah, it's a good curation, and they're well placed in the movie.
I have nothing to say about Steve Harbert's soundtrack. Anyway, let's go to Tom Green Zone.
Yeah, the Tom Green Zone comedy.
Yeah, comedy.
This is, I think, the part where we mentioned that we both watched Freddy Got Fingered just to get some context for Tom Green's other work.
I feel like I'm gonna just do a quick explanation of who Tom Green is. Tom Green is a Canadian comedy guy that started doing like college radio. He was in a WAP group. He was like in a comedy WAP group first, and did like college radio, then had like a local podcast station in Canada. Then got the deal with MTV, and like he is very much like that 90s type of like, I guess you could say he's like Porto-Zaka Sasso.
That's
like
exactly what I wanted to say.
He's like very much like in your face, I'm gonna fuck up my body and sock you, like type of like 90s and 2000s humor. Like that, like that type of humor that's meant to that's meant to go, oh wow, this person's doing this fucked up thing.
Isn't it so random and lol?
Like I watched a couple clips of the show. It's horrible. Of his MTV show, it's horrible. There's stuff like he drinks from a cow's auto. He paints his pants car with the stripper, like the car main thing. Funny. LOL, so as in, so on them.
Yeah.
So if he became like very big in the 90s, with like led to him somehow getting this as a Lexus spot in making Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah. I think my take on it is that he somehow tricked the studio to give him millions of dollars, and then he just fucked it up as hard as possible.
So, this is not the review of Freddy Got Fingered, but the way Freddy Got Fingered as a movie works is basically it has a plot, basically a plot, but it's mostly just a bunch of scenes of Tom Green do something by accident on purpose that's fucked up, and people react to that.
Yeah.
So like there's jokes about him touching like an animal's dick. There's jokes about him saying that his dad is a pedophile, etc. etc.
Yeah, we really don't have to get into it. There's stuff to talk about, but I think like the movie has been analyzed to death.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just explaining how like
don't watch it. That's my
It's fucking horrible. It's genuinely one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Genuinely do not watch it. It's probably good as a troll, but like it's genuinely fucking bad. It's horrible. It's just like when I was watching the movie, I had to like zoom fast. I had to basically increase the speed of the movie, was something I rarely do with any media, because I hate using this word for personal reasons, but the movie squeals. It's fucking squeals into this thing. It's horrible, it's bad comedy, and it's just somebody trying very hard to do unfunny humor in a way that's just uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, he wants you to feel bad. It's like watching a Gaspar Noé movie, but without the artsiness.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's just horrible. Don't watch it.
Okay, so let's get to the comedy of the actual movies. Yeah. So both of these movies have very much a comedy of errors happening, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the comedy in Orange County is good, well timed, and like it pays off. Stuff like gets introduced and then it comes back and it's funny because like you're surprised. But in Ceiling Harvard, it's a comedy of errors, but there's like no comedic timing, and it's extremely predictable. And while Orange County punches against like rich white people, makes fun of them constantly, Stealing Harvard basically punches down on white trash Americans.
Yeah, it's like, I guess in a way they both have the similar form of like something shocking or by accident happens, but the way they do it is very much different. Like there's a scene in Honest Country like describing comments I have. There's a scene in Honest Country like Zach Black's character has like drugs and like his like medicine. And,
Yeah,
like,
these little pill bottles.
He puts like apples in those, and so the main character takes those in the scene and gives them by accident to this professor that he needs to talk to get into this fancy university. So there's this part of the scene where the professor takes a drug and everyone notices, but to the movie's credit, they don't pay off the joke immediately. There's character emotion and thought as that scene is happening, and you only see that part later after actually like 2 minutes. So
Yeah,
like
they give the audience time to like get all excited about this professor about to go on a speed trip.
yeah.
And it's pretty funny actually because like there's all these misunderstandings and all these mix-ups. Like he basically thought he took like a headache pill, and then he just starts hugging people and getting all like sweaty, and he doesn't understand why.
Yeah, and like compared to that, like this thing happened, like the transphobia joke, where it's just like immediately it goes to doesn't even have like I hate doing this, but it doesn't even like set up the transphobia. It's just guy likes man dressed as woman, funny.
Yeah, it's meant as a running gag because they always hard cut to it 3 times. But like if you're not amazed and like shocked by that image, there's like nothing to gain there.
There's no payoff. It's just often very much like it's just pretty much like in seeing how like it's very much like there's no payoff. There's just like funny like character people talking to funny voice or something weird happens, but there's no payoff for setup. It's just the bit already happens.
Yeah.
You're not well like there's a bunch of jokes like there's like another scene in Orange County where like the main character has to talk to like these couple of people to actually get into the university, and like everything just happens very like Zach Black walks in naked, his grandpa and then so like uncle or whatever who is in a wheelchair just accidentally gets almost into a car.
Yeah, there's like they build up all these like bad dysfunctional elements of the family, and then when like the college guy comes by, all these elements like come together to just create a scene of perfect errors.
Yeah, like that's the point. You set like not how comedy works like this, but a lot of like 2000s this type of comedy. When it's its best, a lot of it is just. A lot of it is just like you set up a joke, you plan the joke, and then you pay it off.
Yeah.
And still Harvard could not do that, and you can just pretty much like notice like the difference between like how Zach Black like has the Sam and everything, and like his scene. He's not in the movie for a lot of time, but like when he has like a lot of energy. There's like a scene where like he's going inside the university, and like he accidentally goes into like the university like secretary who's there. And he gets into he gets into like a sex. He does sex with her accidentally. Then they start the file. Then it goes into like my favorite scene of the movie, where they both have to explain. I think the protagonist and Zach Black has to explain what was happening to Ben Stiller as a cameo.
Yeah, and like he just has to progressively make shit up and it becomes more and more unrealistic, the story he's telling.
Yeah, and then he contradicts what was agreed to be said.
Yeah.
It's and that scene happens various times. It doesn't happen just doing all that scene. There's between scenes between that. They set it up while other scenes are happening, including much more dramatic scenes.
Yeah.
Because the movie you can pretty much tell because School of Rock has a similar sense of humor, where like it will like set up like jokes between scenes while it's happening, but it will never like unveil a joke in the moment in the same scene it revealed. And it takes a time to breathe.
Yeah. There's one randomness joke that I liked in Stealing Harvard, but I guess that's more of just a coincidence, I guess. Because like Tom Green's character has that thing where he basically tries to get rich quick schemes, and they're just like all completely absurd, and most of them aren't funny and very predictable. But there's one where he just basically puts a kid on a wire and gives it a chainsaw, and then makes it cut down tree branches that fall on the car. And that's like the funniest that movie gets, because it's just like absurdism. But like the rest of that movie lacks that absurdism to be actually funny.
Yeah, like I read in the story, but from what I understand with the Tom Green part of this, Tom Green basically only did this role. At least after Freddy got fingers like bombed, he only maintained himself in the role because he needed the money. And you can very much feel like this because he's doing the Tom Green stick, but in a movie that's like we talked about this. It's a movie that's not. It's not a Tom Green thing at all, because the kids in the whole guy has a different sense of humor, so it doesn't mess at all. So we don't go full absurd or full anti-humor or anything. It's just nothing really.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned, it's just a series of sketches because it's a bunch of sketches that then is in like 5 minutes because they meet a person, they try to do a thing that goes wrong, and sketch.
Yeah,
and,
they try another thing.
It's
rinse and repeat.
Like I mentioned this before, it reminds me a lot of stuff made by comedy people. Like the movie itself, it reminds me of a lot of movies made by people who come from like a sketch background, because a lot of movies from this type of people always feel like this disconnected, because a lot of these people, like in terms of directing, are more familiar with the comedy style that's like based on like a bunch of bits and not really connected, because sketch comedy is like a bunch of sketches. So what happens is you just get disconnected sketches, and that can be funny in a movie even, but like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, the sketches would have been like a bit more creative. Then what if these two guys got involved with the mob and then it got wrong?
It's like it's just doing the same old jokes. It's doing transphobia, like mafia jokes, which is like was already tired by the 90s, or like whenever the Sopranos was running.
No, this was like very old hats doing mafia jokes in like 2002.
Like even the Sopranos did mafia jokes. Even but the Prestige mafia star was doing mafia jokes. It was so tired that even the straight mafia media was making fun of it.
Yeah, and like there the jokes are basically subverting certain ideas about like the mobsters and their life. And it's not like, here's just some mafia guys, now they're doing crime.
Now it's an excuse to do Italian accents, because somehow we're doing funny Italian accents, as if that was not a tired joke in the 50s or 60s or 70s. Wow.
Yeah, it's just nothing.
It's nothing. It's like, technically you can match this. Like, if you only want to go into the academics of comedy, you can go into like, there's kind of twice, even if it doesn't try to do the whole Tom Green thing, it tries to do kind of like what to be called like anti-humor, like the type of humor where like a joke is done but then cancels itself as part of the joke. It's like
I think that's even giving it too much credit, because like Tom Green is trying to troll everybody. I think he's even trying to troll his own movie set. I feel like he's basically sabotaging the movie, and the rest of the movie is a straight comedy.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'll link an article. That's an interview with the Rolling Stones deal Tom Green. It's fascinating because you can just see this guy turning, like, this was like 2020, 22, 21, something, and you can very much notice how he just turned into like a wash-up guy who now goes in a band in a tour to Canada and America. He has a YouTube channel where he just like talks with his parents and like looks around the farm he owns.
He has a podcast studio in that band, so I guess he's doing like a podcast.
Yeah,
like
I guess so.
I feel he evolved as a person a bit, to the degree where he like found out that just trolling the audience isn't like funny for anybody except him most of the time.
Yeah, you can notice that. I don't know Tom Green. I'm not saying he's like a good guy now, but like at least you can notice that he probably realized that his style of comedy was already outdated by the time he was still doing it, like the 2000s and everything. He noticed that you had to like have like more than just telling the others to actually make people laugh or do anything meaningfully.
Totally. So, do we wanna do the lottery and then do our plugs?
Yeah, that's a lottery. So every time after we talk about these movies, I use the random numbers generator to pick a list from the Wikipedia Twin Movies list, and that's the next one we have. Let's go. 24. What's 24? The Warriors and the Wanderers. Both are about gang wars between New York teenage street gangs and Paris universities.
Wow! We already saw one of these, so this is gonna be less work, but this is gonna be a lot to unpack, I think.
Yeah, that's gonna be the thing to unpack.
Yeah. Wanna plug your stuff, your Patreon, your Twitter?
Yeah, I have a Patreon link in the description. I sometimes stream, even if I do not stream that much this month, at Alice Full of Water on Twitter. I'm Alice Full of War 1 on YouTube. Nothing else, Ludo?
You can find me on Twitter, Ludovico_LTD, and support Alice on Patreon, and follow our Twitter account, which is Gemini Movies what?
Gemini Movies 1, I think.
Okay. So see you all next time for some 70s urban gang things.
Wow, let's go. Bye.
Bye.